Imagine a country so vast it stretches across 11 time zones. When the sun sets in its westernmost city, a new day is already dawning on its eastern shores. This is Russia. It is not just a country, it is a world unto itself. One could fit the entire United States into its landmass, and still have room for more. It occupies 1/8 of the Earth's inhabited land area, spanning 2 continents, from the heart of Europe to the edge of Asia. It borders more nations than any other. 14 sovereign states. Its coastline touches the Arctic, Pacific, Atlantic. From the western border near Poland to the Pacific is over 9,000 kilometers. Russia is a land of superlatives. Larger than Australia, nearly twice the size of Canada, nearly twice the size of China. Home to the largest freshwater lake in the world, the deepest lake, and the longest river in Europe. Frozen tundras, dense forests that have never known the woodcutter's axe, towering mountain ranges that pierce the clouds. Understanding Russia begins with understanding its epic, unparalleled scale. Russia's geography is a collection of the world's great ecosystems, all contained within one border. In the far north, we find the Arctic tundra. This is a treeless expanse, a frozen desert. The ground is permanently frozen, permafrost. For much of the year, it is a world of white, covered in a thick blanket of snow and ice. Yet in the brief summer, it explodes with life. Mosses, lichens, small hardy flowers carpet the ground. Herds of reindeer migrate across the plains. This is a stark, beautiful landscape, a testament to life's ability to thrive in the harshest conditions. Moving south, the tundra gives way to the taiga, the world's largest forest, a vast belt of coniferous trees across Russia. A silent, mysterious world, home to bears, wolves, the elusive Siberian tiger. The taiga covers an area larger than the Amazon, a green sea of trees without end. Further south, the landscape changes. Dense forests open into the steppe. Vast open grasslands, a sea of grass swaying in the wind, historically the domain of nomadic horsemen. Today, Russia's agricultural heartland, the black earth producing vast harvests of wheat, sunflowers. Finally, in the south, formidable mountain ranges form the border. Snow-capped peaks here include Europe's highest, Mount Elbrus. Mountains, rivers, forests, plains. They are the living, breathing body of Russia, a diverse and dynamic world of extraordinary natural grandeur. The climate of Russia is as extreme and varied as its geography. It is a land of dramatic contrasts. Temperatures can swing from scorching heat to bone-chilling cold. In summer, parts of southern Russia near the Black Sea can top 30 degrees Celsius. The climate there is almost Mediterranean. Warm, sunny days on the coast. Vineyards on sun-drenched hillsides. Cities like Sochi become popular holiday destinations. A subtropical Russia, a world away from icy stereotypes. However, it is the Russian winter that has truly captured the world's imagination. In Siberia, winter is profoundly and intensely cold. In places like Oymyakon, the pole of cold, temperatures can drop below -50 Celsius. The air is so cold that boiling water thrown into it instantly turns to ice crystals. Breath freezes into a fine powder. The landscape is locked in a deep, silent freeze for months. This extreme cold shapes every aspect of life there. This vast temperature range defines Russia's continental climate. Most of the country lies far from the moderating ocean, so there's little buffer against extremes. Winters are long and cold. Summers are short but often surprisingly warm or even hot. This cycle of deep freeze and sudden thaw governs daily life. It dictates when crops can be planted. It dictates when rivers are navigable. It dictates when travel becomes a formidable challenge. The Russian term Rasputitsa describes the season of mud. The climate is not just a backdrop, it is an active participant, a force to be respected. Living in Russia means adapting to its geography. The country's immense size and harsh climate have profoundly shaped how people build their homes, travel, and even socialize. In Siberia, buildings must be constructed on deep piles. Piles are driven far into the ground to anchor structures in permafrost. If houses were built directly on the surface, building heat would melt the frozen ground beneath, causing foundations to sink and become unstable. This engineering allows entire cities to exist like Yakutsk on permanently frozen ground. Transportation is another area shaped by geography. The Trans-Siberian Railway is a marvel, a steel artery connecting Moscow and Vladivostok. For over a century it has been a lifeline, carrying people and goods. The journey takes 7 days, crosses 8 time zones, and thousands of kilometers of wilderness. In the far north, roads are scarce. People rely on rivers. In summer, they are highways for boats. In winter, they become ice roads for trucks and cars. The diet of the Russian people reflects the land. Long winters make preserving food essential. Pickling, salting, fermenting, cucumbers, cabbages, mushrooms, hearty soups, borscht, shchi. In the north, reindeer meat, frozen fish. In the fertile south, fresh fruits and vegetables. Even social life is influenced by the climate. Long dark winters mean people spend a lot of time indoors. The home becomes a warm, welcoming sanctuary. The banya, or Russian steam bath, is a cherished social ritual. A place to cleanse the body, relax, and socialize with friends and family. Intense steam heat often followed by a plunge into cold water or snow. A tradition born from the need for warmth and community. To understand modern Russia, we must look back over 1,000 years, to its origins in the lands of the Eastern Slavs. The story begins with a collection of tribes living in the vast forests and river valleys of Eastern Europe. Around the 9th century, Viking traders and warriors, known as the Varangians, traveled south along the great rivers. According to ancient chronicles, these newcomers helped to organize the Slavic tribes. A Varangian chieftain named Rurik is said to have established control in the city of Novgorod in 862, an event traditionally seen as the founding of the first Russian state. From these beginnings, a powerful medieval state known as Kievan Rus emerged. Its capital, Kiev, located on the Dnieper River, became a prosperous and influential center of trade and culture. It stood at a crossroads of civilizations, connecting Scandinavia in the north with the Byzantine Empire in the south. The rulers of Kievan Rus grew wealthy by controlling the trade routes that carried furs, wax, and enslaved people to the markets of Constantinople. The grand city of Kiev, with its golden domed churches and bustling markets, was one of the most magnificent in Europe at the time. A pivotal moment in this early history was the adoption of Orthodox Christianity. In the year 988, Grand Prince Vladimir the Great of Kiev decided to adopt a state religion. According to legend, he sent envoys to observe the major religions of the world. The envoys who visited Constantinople were so overwhelmed by the beauty of the Hagia Sophia Cathedral that they reported, "We knew not whether we were in heaven or on earth." Convinced by their report, Vladimir chose Orthodox Christianity, and a mass baptism of the people of Kiev took place in the Dnieper River. This decision forever linked Russia's destiny with the Eastern Christian world. The golden age of Kievan Rus did not last forever. Internal conflicts between rival princes weakened the state from within. Then, in the 13th century, a devastating invasion came from the east. The Mongol armies, led by the descendants of Genghis Khan, swept across the plains, destroying cities and subjugating the Russian principalities. Kiev was sacked and burned in 1240. For over 2 centuries, the Russian lands were under the dominion of the Mongol Golden Horde. As Mongol power waned, a new center of gravity emerged in the Russian lands. The small principality of Moscow, once a minor town, began to grow in strength and influence. Its princes were shrewd and ambitious. They collected tribute for the Mongol Khans, which allowed them to consolidate their own power. Ivan III, known as Ivan the Great, finally cast off Mongol rule in 1480. He tripled the territory of Moscow and laid the foundations for a unified Russian state. He adopted the title of Tsar, the Russian word for Caesar, signaling his ambition to create a new empire. It was his grandson, Ivan IV, who would become the first officially crowned Tsar of all Russia. Known as Ivan the Terrible, his reign was a complex mix of progress and brutality. He conquered vast new territories, Kazan, Astrakhan. He reformed the government and created a more centralized administration. But his later years were marked by paranoia and cruelty. He created the oprichnina, which terrorized the country. His reign left a dual legacy: a strengthened state and a tradition of absolute, often ruthless, autocratic power. The next great transformation came with the rise of the Romanov dynasty in the 17th century. The most famous of the Romanovs was Peter the Great, a towering figure, both literally and historically. Peter was determined to modernize Russia and turn it into a major European power. He traveled to Western Europe, studying shipbuilding, military techniques, administration. Returning home, he implemented sweeping reforms. He built a modern army and a modern navy. He introduced new technologies and forced nobles to shave their traditional beards and adopt Western clothing. He was ruthless and revolutionary. Peter's most enduring achievement was the construction of a new capital, St. Petersburg. Built on marshland on the coast of the Baltic Sea, it was his window to the west. The city was designed by European architects in the grand style of the time. Elegant palaces, canals, wide avenues. It symbolized Russia's new identity as a great European empire. Under later rulers like Catherine the Great, the Russian Empire continued to expand, becoming one of the largest in world history. By the early 20th century, the Russian Empire was a giant with feet of clay. Despite its immense size and military power, it was plagued by deep social and political problems. The vast majority of its population were poor peasants, while a small elite lived in luxury. Defeat in the Russo-Japanese War and the strains of World War I brought these tensions to a boiling point. In February 1917, strikes and protests in the capital, now named Petrograd, escalated into a full-blown revolution. Tsar Nicholas II was forced to abdicate, bringing over 300 years of Romanov rule to an end. A provisional government was established, but it was unable to solve the country's deep-seated problems. This created an opportunity for a radical group of revolutionaries, the Bolsheviks led by Vladimir Lenin. Lenin was a brilliant strategist and a devoted follower of the communist ideas of Karl Marx. He promised the people peace, land, bread. In October 1917, the Bolsheviks seized power in a swift and decisive coup. The October Revolution would change the course of Russian and world history, ushering in a new and radical experiment in human society. After a brutal civil war, the Bolsheviks consolidated their power and in 1922 created the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. It was the world's first communist state, dedicated to building a new society without private property or social classes. After Lenin's death, Joseph Stalin rose to absolute dictator. Stalin launched rapid industrialization and collectivization of agriculture. He aimed to transform the USSR into an industrial superpower in a single generation. Stalin's rule was brutally repressive. The Soviet Union did achieve industrial growth, but the human cost was staggering. Famine, forced labor in the Gulag prison camps, political purges. During World War II, the Soviet Union faced its greatest test. The Nazi invasion cost the lives of over 27 million Soviet citizens. Victory cemented the USSR's status as a global superpower, setting the stage for a new kind of global conflict. After the devastation of World War II, the world was divided into two opposing camps. United States, Western allies championing capitalism, democracy. Soviet Union, satellite states in Eastern Europe committed to communism. This period became known as the Cold War. There was no direct military conflict between the two superpowers, but proxy wars, arms race, space race. The arms race was a defining feature of this era. USA developed vast nuclear arsenals. USSR developed vast nuclear arsenals. The world lived under the constant threat of nuclear annihilation. The doctrine of mutually assured destruction, or MAD, created a terrifying kind of stability. The space race was a more peaceful but no less intense form of competition. Sputnik, the first satellite, 1957. Yuri Gagarin, the first human in space, 1961. These achievements were a source of immense national pride. Life inside the Soviet Union during the Cold War was a unique experience. The state provided cradle-to-grave security, guaranteed employment, free education, healthcare. However, this came at the cost of personal freedom. There was no political dissent. Information was strictly controlled by the state. The economy was centrally planned, which often led to shortages of consumer goods, long queues for basic necessities. Despite these hardships, there was a strong sense of community and patriotism. By the 1980s, the Soviet system was in crisis. In 1985, a new, younger leader, Mikhail Gorbachev, came to power. He introduced glasnost, openness and perestroika, restructuring. But these reforms unleashed forces that could not be controlled. In 1991, the Soviet Union peacefully dissolved, ending the Cold War and marking the beginning of a new, uncertain era for Russia. Today, Russia stands as a nation reborn from the ashes of the Soviet Union. The journey since 1991 has been complex and often turbulent. The transition to a market economy in the 1990s brought upheaval and hardship. It was also a time of newfound freedom and opportunity. The country has re-emerged on the world stage, a major power with vast natural resources, a formidable military, and a permanent seat on the United Nations Security Council. Its voice is once again significant in global affairs, shaping events far beyond its borders. The enduring spirit of Russia can be seen in its rich cultural heritage. This is the land of Tolstoy. This is the land of Dostoevsky. It is the home of Tchaikovsky. It is the home of Stravinsky. It is the birthplace of the Bolshoi Ballet. From the intricate onion domes of its ancient churches to the bold experiments of its avant-garde artists, Russian culture is a testament to a creative and resilient spirit. The vast landscapes continue to define the nation's character. The endless forests of Siberia, the frozen plains of the Arctic, the sun-drenched steppes of the south. They are a source of immense natural wealth and a reminder of nature's power. A connection felt by the city dweller in Moscow as much as the reindeer herder in the far north. The sheer scale of their country gives Russians a unique perspective on the world.